welcome in the meeting about the biking trip to Norway. I'm not alone here to present this trip. There is Auden, it's our local partner, and I will take care of the introduction as I'm doing, and then I will pass the word to Auden, and we will use this presentation as a lead. So the first slide, I will not pronounce it. I let Auden pronounce it, but I think you will all know what it says. And it says welcome in Rondane Nationaal Park. Maybe it's also important, our trip to the Rondane Nationaal Park in Norway. It's the first time we organize this. And for your information, when we put new trips on our program, there is two factors that are important. First, to decide whether we're going to do it. The first one is, do we want to go biking there? Do we like this region? When the answer is yes. And the second thing, important factor is, do we know somebody there who can take care of all the logistics, who knows the area, who is at the same level of mindset? And so we had two yeses, and that's why we didn't hesitate and launched it. The first time this trip, and we also call it a pilot trip. So for you guys, it's important to know that we didn't run the trip as it is. Of course, Auden knows the area. He knows all about biking. He knows accommodation and things. But of course, since it's the first time, you will all be pioneers, and you will all be part of the adventure and the new discovering. And it also reflects in the price. So the price is more interesting for you since you will take part in a new adventure. Thank you for listening to me. I will pass the word to Auden. Auden, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And pronunciation was good. Velkommen til Rondane Nationaal Park. Welcome to Rondane National Park. Really glad to be part of this pioneering tour. I've had the pleasure of working with you for the ski tour this winter, and Sarah and I got to know each other well, and we've been working on actually talking about this for a couple of years now. So really happy to have this on the program for next year, or this summer. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess you can switch. So where do we find the Rondane National Park? Let's start with zooming out. Most of you probably know that it's just a little bit north of you in Norway. But if we go to the next slide, we can see more locally where in Norway it is. So as you can see, it's kind of like in the southern part of Norway. Norway's really a long country, stretching for a long way. So it's actually quite central from the airport. It's 3.5 hours. It's 4 hours from Oslo city central. And it's one of the most mountainous areas in Norway. As you can see on the map, you can see that it's gray and white to the left and right of and very much to the left of the arrow. So it's definitely a mountainous area in Norway. Yes. So about the park itself, we are located on the outskirts of the national park, and we will be biking also on the outside of the park. It's actually not allowed to ride bikes on the trails inside the national park itself, but we will stay in the outside on the outskirts from the north and east side, and then turn to the southern part at the end. It's one of the oldest national parks in Norway. Also, something that you can tell when you get there. It's a lot of old culture up here in this area with summer farms, and you can see the whole mountain and farming culture all around in the mountains. 10 peaks higher than 2,000 meters, which will provide a really nice scenery for us. And covers quite a big area, 963 square kilometers. So quite a vast area. Yeah, next one. So why should you come to this trip? I guess that's the big question. Also, why most of you are here. Um, in this area, you find some of the most beautiful um, bike trails that you have in Norway. It's as you can tell, it's mountainous, but it's not super steep, so you can actually bike easily up and down on all the mountains. There are endless miles of trails, which used to connect the old summer farms. There also used to be quite a bit of mining in the 17th, 18th century, which means that there are some handmade trails built in the mountains, which gives us a really nice network of trails. It's dry, um, and it's really a place where you can go exploring because there's not really any people out there. It's mainly just us out there on the trails. So definitely a place which is an El Dorado for outdoor enthusiasts. All the trails and all the tours that we have, they start up high. We usually start up with the transport up in the mountains and then work our way down to the valley, so we get as many vertical meters down of downhill biking as we can. And as you can see on this picture, there's the lichen, which is the kind of like yellow, almost like fluorescent color, which you can see, which is kind of almost like a kind of moss, which is the main feed for the reindeer, which is special for this area, where we have some of the last few original reindeer tribes that are still in Europe. And all of this is just in the backyard of yeah, our lodge, and where we will be hosting the tour. So yeah, the local hero is me. And as with the tour in February when we were ski touring, Sarah will be joining for this tour, so that will be a great reunion. And we have our own company called Urørt, which means pristine, which also kind of a symbol of what kind of nature experience and what kind of trails you will find. It's mainly quite, single track, quite narrow single track. It's an area with few people, so unique experiences, and we have been hosting tours here for the last 5 years through Urørt, but I have experience with hosting ski tours and working as a ski guide since 2012, and also we have been hosting bike tours in the area since 2010 through a festival that we started here back in 2007. So yeah, we hope it will be in good hands.
I'm sure of that. So now I will change the screen because we will go through the itinerary of the trip. We'll go through the program day by day. The trip this year is running from the 4th till 10th of August. And Autumn will take you through the day-to-day program. So you will tell me if you see now our website on the screen.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is the introduction, telling why you should come, and then we go over to the day-by-day program.
Yeah. Day zero, the arrival day, we will pick you up in Oslo at the airport. As I mentioned, it's 3.5 hours drive, and we will spend the first night at our lodge, which is based on our family farm, and this will also be the base for our first night. And when we get here, we'll have dinner, go through the program. It's also easier to actually show and tell when we get here, and you can see the mountains and trails, and you can see a bit more what the terrain and the nature is going to be like. On day one, so day one of biking, we will be heading over to the other side of the valley. We have a mountain called Mount Tron. The valley floor here is at 500 meters above sea level, and there is a road going all the way up to 1660 meters above sea level. The biking is really good from 1300 and down, which means that we get transport up to around 1300, and then we have 900 meters vertical meters to play with on the way back down to the valley. So we'll start up high and then use the terrain, have some really nice trails and some long descents, and then end up back down in the valley floor at the end of the day. We usually have days of between 20 and 30 kilometers, which is also tours of somewhere between 4 and 7 hours, or sorry, 4 and 6 hours usually, out on the bike, including breaks and everything. And I know that many people think it sounds like it's not that much, and that it seems like the distance is quite low. But as you can tell in all the photos, it's all on fairly narrow single track, and it's and there's also quite a bit of altitude that we also have to gain throughout the day. So somewhere between 20 and 30 kilometers, depending on how much vertical meters we have to climb, will be a normal day out.
So yeah, I'm glad, Alden, you come immediately to this subject, since this is a kind of biking we are not used in Belgium. If we go out for biking, it's to do a lot of kilometers and to come home and show the numbers to our friends, and so people would think, I don't go to Norway to just bike 20 k's a day. What's to use? But of course, I'm convinced it's worth it, and I hope that people will, once they get in touch with this kind of biking, they will understand then there is more than only counting the k's a day. It's not about speed, and also one thing, if it's only 20k, it's not like we will be walking all the time on the trails, or since they're unrideable. It's 20 k's and
no push bike. There's little to no push bike, and no walking for the main part. So the best part is to count the vertical meters down, because usually we have more vertical meters down than up, and also the distance is usually around 25. 20 is on the lower end of the scale, but 25 plus minus is quite a full day out, actually. So
okay.
Yeah, a bit of different riding, but definitely something that will keep you smiling for the whole day.
Okay, we trust you on that, and I think it's one of the most weird the things we have to change in our head. And I see John raising his hand. John, you can put on your microphone and ask a question.
Ja, ik kan het in het Nederlands doen, want mijn Engels is niet zo goed.
Okay, no worries.
Dus als ik het goed versta, dus we gaan op het gemakje fietsen, sightseeing doen. Maar is het terrein ook zodanig grof, of dat wij in onze ogen dan toch maar zo weinig kilometers doen, ik zal het zo zeggen. Dat we er toch een volledige dag mee kunnen vullen.
Yeah, it's actually John is asking whether the terrain is so. Why is it? Because of the terrain being so rude, or is because we're taking a lot of stops to do some sightseeing?
Yeah, Yeah, good question. It's actually we will be actually we will be on the bike for the most part. You know, like throughout those 4 to 6 hours. It's I think uh, one of the main reasons why it just takes that long is that your progress is a little bit slower when you ride on these narrow single tracks. It just the speed is quite low when you start on the flat and the climb. So it's actually just how long it usually takes to cover that kind of distance. So we have, you know, like a normal longer lunch break during the day, and then some small breaks along the way. But apart from that, we will be moving for the main part for the 4 to 6 hours.
Ja.
Is dat duidelijk, John? Het is eigenlijk vooral niet zozeer ruw, maar single tracks en daardoor avanceerde eigenlijk niet echt snel. Auden, you told us, I think, did I understand well? We take a shuttle to the highest part and start from there.
Yeah, that's what we usually start every day with. Unless it's kind of like a trail over a pass, for example, then we usually start with the transport up and then work our way down.
We usually bring very fit bikers. Our Belgian bikers are very, very fit. So we might surprise you and maybe pull out 30 Ks a day. And we will, you can challenge us, or we can challenge you. The thing is, Auden, the day is flexible, and if we are moving fast with the group faster, of course we can pull out more trails than is planned for the day. Everything depends also on the group, and this is also an important thing, because usually when we ride, when people ride with us, they're used to have a GPX file and ride at their own pace. But this is really a guided tour, so we stay together and stay with the guide and enjoy the trip all together. So it's not about being first, not about being fast. It's enjoying the trails and the tours together.
Yep, and that's a really good point about the flexibility, which is definitely possible to be flexible and then add some further distance and make the tour longer if you can tell that it's a strong group that can easily handle more kilometers or more vertical meters. But just as one example, we had a group who was a really strong group here last weekend, and they had booked tours of 40 to 50 kilometers per day. And we had on first day we had a tour of 37 kilometers, and then for the next day we were planning about a little bit more than 40, but they actually wanted to reduce the kilometers for the second day to be able to just enjoy the tour, since as I mentioned, it can be quite it is actually quite demanding, and you're not moving as fast as you are on really compact more compact trails, and also with the vertical routes.
It's good you mentioned, because I also think that we all will be, when we are really living it, we will all be humble and quickly review our goals or our expectations. So it's really for the people who are open to experience new kind of biking. Okay, let's move over.
So we're definitely easy to be flexible and adapt. So more than happy to.
Perfect.
Yeah. So if we move on to day two, that's one of the days where we'll be moving from one place to the next. We will be starting at the summer farm, which is connected to our lodge and our family farm, which is up in the mountains. And on that day, we will be traveling, riding on these kind of like ridge lines for the most part on the way to a place called Saval, which is a very nice lake. And the end point of the stage is at Savalen, where there's the option of jumping into the lake if it's really warm and nice, or there's a pool inside where you can have a nice cold beer and just enjoy and relax before we head back to the lodge. And that will be, if you scroll down a little bit more.
Sorry, yeah.
Yep. Then that will be our last night at the lodge before we start moving over to Kvebergsøya. So on day 1, 2, and 3, the plan is that we will get a transport up to the mountains and start up high, work our way down. On day 3, we will head into a place which is really very scenic area. There's a photo from it on the side there. You can tell it's a lot of the, like the lichen, which is covering the whole valley as a blanket. A lot of summer farms, lakes, and just a really, really nice day out, fantastic trails. And will take us over to Kvebergsøya, which is a farm from the 18th century. So really, like boutique, cozy place. And we ride the trail all the way down to the farm. So we can just park the bike outside and then jump in, get dinner, and enjoy the atmosphere. The next day we will be starting straight from Kvebergsøya, the lodging, and the trail starts just outside. We will be heading over to basically the border of the Rondane Nationaal Park, the eastern border of the Rondane Nationaal Park. This is a traverse tour, so we will be climbing up quite a bit from the starting point, and then following the mountains up, get some nice descents along the way, and then one last climb before we have a super scenic descent on all the way down back to the road in the valley floor, which will take us right on the border to the Rondane Nationaal Park with all the 2,000 meters peaks straight ahead of us. So really spectacular, scenic day. Once we get there, once we finish that stage, we will be picked up and then transported to our next lodging, which is a hotel called Spitsbergseter Resort Rondane. This is on the southern border of the national park. Really nice place to stay. Also got a nice swimming pool and sauna and everything to kind of like just kick back and relax. And from there we will be starting our tour the next day up in the mountains, and then going to down all the way down to a place called Ringebu, which is also a small village, almost like Alvdal, where we will be staying in the first nights. And it was part of the Olympics in 1994, so they actually had the downhill skiing event for the 1994 Winter Olympics. So as you can imagine, it's a lot about descents once we get to Ringebu, and quite long ones. So we will finish up riding all the way down to the valley, and then we will get a ride back up to Spitsbergseter at the end of the tour, where we will have dinner for the last night in Ringebu, and then the next day, day 6, which is the last day, it will be the transport back to the airport, and then bring back home.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'll go back to the meeting, to the presentation. All clear. So this is like a more boring part, but still important. So what do you need to enter Norway? Well, there is nothing special needed, no special vaccines, even no passport, just your valid ID card is sufficient. And Norway is not part of the European monetary club. So there is Norwegian kroners, you call it, and €1 equals 11.48 kroners. So you can take kroners from Belgium to Norway, but you can also easily pay by card, or they accept all kind of, but still it might be good to have some cash, I think, maybe to pay in the lodges. But then you can take it out of the wall when you enter in Norway, when you arrive at the airport. So I don't think it's really needed to go to the bank and change the money in advance.
No, it should be like all the places usually, all the places can take cards. So,
Okay.
so there's not really that much need for cash.
Okay, yeah. And then others tell us all about the weather, because we Belgians, we don't want to go up north because it always rains.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good reason why you should come to this part of Norway, which is actually the driest part of Norway. Along the coast, definitely you can get quite a lot of rain. But Norway is quite a big country, and different, quite different climatic zones. So this part usually one of the driest areas in Norway, and temperatures, and you have quite an inland continental climate. So you can have in summer, when you have warm weather, you usually kind of like warms up really well. But you also are quite high, since we're that far north. 500 meters is quite high, like the tree level or the tree line is at 900 meters here, and the valley floor is at 500. So this also means the temperature drops quite a bit in the evening.
So what you recommend for the clothing? We should bring long sleeves and like a light down jacket for the nights?
Yep, that can be a good idea. We usually ride in short sleeves and shorts, but definitely nice to have some long sleeves and a small down jacket for the evening.
Yeah.
It can be super nice and warm, but it can also be a bit chilly in the evening.
So if you, of course, if you subscribe for the trip a couple of weeks in advance, you will get a packing list. So you you're sure to bring everything you need for the trip. And that brings us to the other slide. Here you see the fire. So you can confirm these pictures have been taken in summer. So
Yeah, so the picture outside is actually in September, early September. But yeah, for sure, it's nice to have a down jacket just to have it in the evening. It makes the nights nicer and warmer if we're still going to stay outside. As I mentioned, we'll be staying at our family farm for 2 nights, and then over to Kvebergsøya is also like a super nice rustic place, lots of charm. And then at the last 2 nights at the hotel.
okay.
Resorts, yeah.
When I was there for the tour skiing trip, we slept in 4 different places. I think they were also very different, but also charming. And it's the typical idea of how the lodges are in Norway. So I'm pretty sure they will have the same charm the lodges we will see in summer. So looking to the pictures, it looks attractive. And you can confirm we will be sleeping in rooms of 2 people.
Yep, twin room, standard, and bed linen and everything for all the nights. Yeah,
perfect, all the comfort.
Yes.
And then tell us more about the food.
Yeah, the reindeer, whale, and berries. It's the winner combination.
Yeah, it's the idea we have about the food in Norway.
Yeah, exactly. But reindeer is quite usual and something that you can often get, especially in this part of the area, this part of Norway. Definitely, this area, it's a lot of like wild game, reindeer, moose, deer, that kind of thing. And you also get in August, you usually get like the harvesting season that started with vegetables and everything. So normally it's like nice fresh vegetables grown here, and then all of the food is usually like locally produced. That's what we aim for all the tours that we have. Not so much whale, but on demand. No, whale is not really too much on the menu.
I think we can live with that.
Wild mud, then that's a good place to get whale if you want to.
Okay, so we'll try another region to have the whale. But please, Alden, promise us that there will be these waffles.
Waffles, yeah, for sure. Definitely waffles, and we can even do a waffle stop at one of the summer farms if it's still open.
Okay, because it's one of the most important reasons why I go back to Norway.
Yeah.
If it's not for the skiing or the biking, it's for the waffles. So I invite you to be as fan as me after this trip.
Absolutely.
Okay. So people can bring their own bike on the plane, but people can also rent bikes
That's correct.
when you're there. Can you give me some details about the bike so we can think about what we should do, bringing one or hiring one?
Absolutely. The bikes that we have for rent is Rocky Mountain bikes, really solid, good brand, Canadian made or Canadian brand. We have both e-bikes and manpower bikes. They are for the most part the same model, which is Instinct. That is a full suspension bike with 140 and 150 millimeters treble. So they should be perfectly adapted to the terrain, which also it says something about the trails that we have. So we have the same bikes, both manpower and e-bikes. Both options for that. I think there's a question.
Ja, die veerweg, hebben we die echt nodig of komen we toe met een 120, 130 ook? Uw micro staat niet aan.
John is asking whether for the suspension 120, 130, if that would be okay.
Yep, that would be okay. Like we usually, or not usually, we do recommend full suspension, just because it's long days out, and also it's all natural trails with that can be a bit demanding, but 120, 130 is absolutely okay. Yeah.
So okay, good. If you want to bring your own bike, and it's also possible.
So we we have all sizes for the bikes, both e-bikes and manpower bikes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, guys, how to get there? As we mentioned before, the Rondane Nationaal Park is like 3.5 hours drive from the airport. We will be picking you up with your bike, if you bring it or not, or without your bike if you don't bring it. We recommend you to book the flights yourself, and there's direct flights from Brussels to Oslo. And SAS is I think the biggest company that offers the direct flights. So pick up and drop off from the airport is included. It's pick up on the 4th and drop off on the 10th. And of course, you can extend your stay if you want, but we will do the transfers at this fixed date. So if you want to stay longer in Oslo, that's okay. You can add the weekend to your trip to visit the city. We will bring you back to Oslo, and there you can arrange the rest of your stay or go home. So, okay, I think we are at the end of our presentation. There were already some questions. Do you have more? Are there people who want to ask something? John?
Ja, ik nog een vraagje over de ondergrond. Is dat meestal rotsachtig of zo wat meer gravel eigenlijk?
How will be the terrain, Auden? Will it be rocky? Will it be more gravel or sand? Or
Is voor de banden, hè?
It's mostly to know which kind of tires we should put on.
Yeah, as you can tell on this picture, once you get up high, it can be quite rocky. So I would bring some tires that are that have some quite steady good grip, not the super light rolling tires. But for the most part, the soil is kind of like sand and gravel with rocks in between. So it rolls really well, but definitely good to have some studs to have a good grip, especially if you get some rain that makes the grip a little bit better.
Oké, moet ik dat nou even vertalen? Ik ga
Nee. Mijn Engels verstaan en komen spreken is iets anders.
Oké, super.
Maar ik heb nog een vraagje. Die bescherming, arm- en beenbescherming, is dat echt nodig of is dat een beetje overkill?
Dat is nooit overkill. Ik ga daar al op antwoorden. Want je kunt alleen maar spijt hebben dat je het niet hebt aangehad. But I will ask Alden, of course. Alden, so in Belgium, we are not used to ride with protection, and we quickly think it's overkill or it's too dramatical for the kind of biking we do. What's your advice or your idea?
We usually ride with knee pads, knee protection, and then especially for such a multi-day tour where if you blow your knee on one of the first days on a ball, then you're basically out for the whole duration of the tour. So we don't have like a requirement that you use any protective gear, apart from helmet, of course. But I do personally ride with knee pads.
Eigenlijk is dat alleen maar in onze in onze lage landen, dat wij fietsen zonder bescherming en zonder rugzak. Dat zijn echt typische Belgische en Nederlandse dingen. Zodra je de grens overgaat, Duitsland, Italië, Frankrijk, dat fietst iedereen sowieso met een rugzak en met kneepads. Dus ik zou dat ook alleen maar aanbevelen om dan ons echt helemaal in het verhaal in te leven. Maar ook gewoon zoals de Auden zegt, je moet de eerste dag maar een keer dom opzij vallen op je knie en heel je week is er. En je kunt alleen maar spijt hebben als je ze niet aan hebt. Dus,
ja, dat is waar. Dus ook een iets grotere rugzak dan een gewone camelbag eigenlijk meenemen.
Ja, klopt. Er zijn gidsen, wij hebben allemaal EHBO bij en dergelijke. Maar ja, een windvestje, we gaan ook op hoogte. Je moet echt zo, ook waarschijnlijk, dat is misschien een vraag aan Alden, onze picknick gaan we waarschijnlijk ook in onze rugzak moeten steken. Dus je moet echt erop voorzien zijn dat je van alles kunt wegsteken. Je bent een hele dag weg. En het is niet zo als bijvoorbeeld bij Alpenpiek of zo, waar je vertrekt en zo snel mogelijk en zo licht mogelijk aan het einde wilt komen. Het is echt, je moet voorbereid zijn op een dag in de bergen te zijn. Maar dat wil als Auden. John, zet jij nog even uw micro af voor de radio van uw vrouw? Dankjewel. Alden, we were just talking about the backpack. So I recommend, apart from the knee pads, I recommend to have a backpack to put like a wind jacket or a spare gloves or in any way that you have the capacity to put some things away that can protect you during the day. And then we came up to the lunch. Do we carry our lunch package ourselves?
Yes, we do. We do carry the lunch packages ourselves. So I think the backpacks that you can see on this photo are quite normal size. You know, you need to have room for your food, your lunch, water, and some clothes like a wind jacket or something to put on, and also, you know, like spare parts for your bike if you have like specific parts, and then mesh hanger and stuff like that. So a small backpack, but all the luggage is transported from one place to the next. So the only thing we need on the bike ride is what we need for that day on the bike. The rest of the luggage we can transport around.
Okay, thank you. So perfect. I have a question for you. Are you in? I know Jonas and Koen will be joining us. Please feel free. If you still have questions, you can ask them now, or you can contact me through WhatsApp or any kind of communication channel. We are easy accessible. And so it's the end of our presentation. So I thank you for being here, and hope to see you all in Norway. Isn't it, Auden?
Yep, absolutely.